episode 8 of the Pit Box Podcast. This is your boy, Steven.
I'm Christian from No Live Garage.
Sebastian. Oh, shit.
Gartrell.
And the usual Gartrell.
Here we go. So you got the full cast today. I know it looks a little different. We're on Zoom. You know, you got to utilize the resources that you have, the free resources from your house. You know, coronavirus is going on outside right now, and we just want to be safe. So how's everybody doing? Chris, you can start it off. Give us a sentence.
I'm doing well. My family's healthy. I just wanted to do a quick shout out to all the frontline workers and just thank them so much for everything that they're doing right now. They're definitely leading us through these tough times.
Seb?
Yeah, likewise, man. Just keeping up with my daily walks and runs, trying to say hi to the neighbors from a safe distance and just keeping safe and healthy.
There you go. Gartrell?
I've been working from home, so pretty much just been passing the time, almost like I'm on house arrest, but I'm still going to work. Yeah, just been Xbox, cooking. I've been, trying some new recipes and stuff like that, I guess. Getting scruffy all over and gaining weight, too, from not being able to go to the gym and everything like that. So definitely going to have to find something to keep up with that, but nothing too crazy.
The only thing I'm looking forward to is growing this afro. That's about it, really.
Yeah, I've been working my facial hair real quick, trying to see how long I can get it.
Well, you might look like James Harden after this one.
Facts. I was thinking more Wolverine, but
That works too. All right, so I guess we'll hop right into the first topic. When do we think racing will return, and will there be crowds? Who wants to start it off?
Definitely not this year.
All right, Gartrell, well, you already started talking, so you might as well finish your point.
I just think that given the amount of time that's been missed, in like almost any, racing circuit that's, should have like begun, like started underway, like testing and stuff like that for F1 and, GT3, all those races, NASCAR should be coming up soon. I think the Indy 500 would have been soon, if not past. And then, whatever race they do, I don't keep up with NASCAR, but it's just like, you've missed too much time, and I feel as though like you can't have a complete like series or championship cup in the amount of time given, especially since we don't know when this will end. People are predicting June, July. So if it does even end by then, and they wanted to start anything by then, I do not think crowds would be, involved, and there would definitely be some type of screening process before any of the teams could race, and I think it would just like put too many limitations on things. So I think that personally racing will not resume this year, and then it'll just pick up next year most likely.
Okay, who wants to go next?
Gotcha. Oh, God. Honestly, wishful thinking, I'd like to think that it would continue normally. I feel like the schedule would be a lot more compact, obviously, due to the time constraint. There's probably going to be races multiple weekends back to back to try and, sort of catch up with the time that we've missed. I do feel like some of the teams who are involved may not participate. I do feel like there will be slightly less teams participating in, each of the races, both the 24-hour races, Formula One, like Gartrell said, even NASCAR, just because some of these families might be affected, by what's going on. So obviously they want to take precaution over everything. I'd like to think that we'd be able to see the same races that we were supposed to if this didn't happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's either substantially less, they don't finish the season, or they do something where they just tack it on to next year.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. I think I would have to agree, unfortunately, with Gartrell on this one. And me being the F1 fan that I am, I was hopeful in seeing on Instagram maybe about a week ago the FIA trying to come up with a decision to start the season at Austria by July, which would be cool. Of course, I don't think there would be any fans, but I think the big caveat here is it's not so much starting the season and considering everyone else's safety. It's also keeping in mind each country and what their essential business restrictions are, because like everybody's totally like shut down right now. So you've got I think there are a good bit of F1 teams right now that are actually making parts. I know you tagged me in the ventilator that Ferrari's making, which is fire. But it's good to see them transition into that. I know Mercedes is also doing that as well. So I'm curious to see if they'll just go ahead and still maintain their resources to help the crisis that's going on today, as opposed to just like flipping it and then going back to business as usual by July. I kind of think that it's really just going to be a wrap for the season, and they'll just take whatever cars and whatever, I guess, motorsport team that designed whatever vehicle they're going to drive this season, just push it on the next year. Might as well just make it safe for everybody at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the way I feel about it is if we do go back to racing, it'll be in the fall. Because, of course, at the earliest, we'll be back up and running this summer. And that's absolute best case scenario. But then you still have to get everybody back together again, because it's not like everybody is all from the same country. These teams are comprised from people all across the globe. And like Seb just said, everybody has their own situations that's going on, not just personally, but how their country is set up. Even we see it here from state to state, people working on different guidelines. So that's one part of it. I think if we do go back, probably won't have any fans in the stands, or they'll limit the amount of people who can buy the tickets. So that way you can maintain people being more spread out, hopefully. Oh, assuming people just don't flock together, but then again, as we and Chris experienced at Sebring, kind of flocking together is what makes it fun.
More fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't know how that would be. Interesting fact that, not fact, but theory that my friend was talking about with me was she thinks that if they go back, they should just have every race be an exhibition. So there's no points involved with the races. It's just each race is its own standalone event, and it's kind of like just for fun. Because, there's going to be probably less competitors on the grids, whether it's from the teams or the drivers. And being that they're going to try to stack everything on top of each other, not everybody can be at every race. If you have multiple big events at the same weekend, you're kind of spreading people thin.
Right.
I think
that's a good point.
I think it would be cool if they did. I kind of like the exhibition idea. However, I think I don't want to say it, but business speaking wise, it would be like a waste of resources to put like all of the team together for like just a whole GP weekend.
That's like a lot of money.
For example, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of logistics, and it's a lot of waste of money if there aren't any points that are being divulged at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So with that being said, though, I think it would be dope if they did like an exhibition karting championship, though. That would be fun.
Really cool.
I think that in the long run, what they should be doing is just reinvesting this time and energy into like completely scrapping the season and just giving the teams, especially for F1, more time to work on the 2021 specs for the car. Thereby, I think it would be a great opportunity for FIA to get, everyone, fans involved as well in terms of like, buzz and stuff like that by just releasing, we're going to scrap the year. We're going to move into the 2021 season looking forward so that this way, you guys have plenty of time to work on your car and, release the specs on what is going to be expected of the new platform, what power unit is going to be mandated, any, aerodynamic changes that need to be made to the front end of the car, anything for the rear end of the car, etc. And just like, get people like excited because, it'll get a lot of talk going, especially on the internet about, what these new power units like specifications are and the limitations and things like that, the output, and, is it going to make racing more fun? Is it going to decrease the amount of overtakes there are because of the way the power unit set up and everything like that? I think that they could just set up a pretty solid season. And I think that if the teams had that much more time to have their kart made, as well as the money that's not being spent on this year's races and resources to be put back into their cars, it'll only make the next season that much better, because it's not like you have time to perfect it. So imagine what Mercedes could come up with in that time. Imagine what, Honda could come up with that time for, the Honda partners and things like that. Red Bull would probably be set up, Rocket and all that stuff like that. And I just think that that is where racing should be in, the FIA's mind. Like, scrap the season and set up for the next one. So, but we'll see, right?
And make testing longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like
Curious to see the result.
Barcelona.
Yeah. Curious to see what all the homologations result in as far as, the way the cars perform, and see if we could break some records too.
I think the real thing is, of course, they pushed back the new cars. Was it another year or 2 years?
I think the 2021 spec, from what I understand, is going to be on pause until 2022. So the 2020 car will be racing in 2021.
Yeah.
The 2021 spec will bump to 22.
Mm-hmm. They didn't mention if they were freezing development across the board, right?
I don't know, but I would kind of hope so, just because when you think of the resources split between all the teams and what would be fair, like I would want to see Williams have a really good go for next season. Like, I don't want them to be back markers anymore, like solidified back markers. They got to get out of that role.
Yeah, absolutely. Another series that kind of interests me with all that's going on is WEC. They're switching to the hypercar class. Aston Martin had already pulled the plug, even though they said they were going to do it originally before all the coronavirus stuff. So I'm wondering, are they going to try to push back the changes in the cars if they haven't announced it already, or if they're just going to let the current prototype stay as is for a little bit longer and then go on to the next one?
Yeah, and we also have to consider that all these brands aren't getting the same revenue that they did during normal times. We also have to consider the fact how much, obviously of an income stream comes from being able to sell your own vehicle and things along that nature. Nobody's buying cars right now. So you also have to keep in mind that they're not getting the same income that they did normally. So in order for them to continue that development, they would need an income stream, essentially, which they're not, to my knowledge, it's not the same as what it used to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if most of these manufacturers put things on pause temporarily. I could see how some of them might not, because they might be diversified a little bit more. But we also have to consider the fact that they're not selling their vehicles anymore temporarily.
And the other thing to mention as well, like all revenue streams and everything included, Aston Martin's actually going to be a constructor for F1 in 2021. So they probably got all their eggs in that basket, and everybody knows how expensive it is to be a formidable constructor there. And then to go ahead and make another car for WEC, those are a lot of resources that aren't actually going to be paying dividends in the long run.
But that's why they pulled the plug on WEC.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
Now, quick question, because I'm actually unaware. Is Aston Martin replacing a constructor, or are they going to be an additional constructor making it 22 on the grid?
Good question. They're replacing Force Point. I'm sorry, Racing Point. Point. Yeah, they changed the pink car as
CWD, all that good. What used to be Force India.
Now Racing Point. Now 2021 would be Aston Martin.
Yeah. It's just because Lance Stroll's dad dropped some crazy dough on them, so now they're going to be Aston Martin Racing.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Should be, yeah.
Yep. So that kind of carries on to the next point. Had already mentioned it, the compressing of the events at the end of the year, assuming that is what happens, is going to put a bind on everybody, because realistically, you're only going to have a certain amount of time to get everything done in terms of all the races they want to do. And that's going to put a strain on the teams as well as the drivers financially. So for the viewers that don't know, because it's not necessarily common knowledge, especially when it comes to obviously not F1 and not the factory WEC teams, but a lot of drivers actually pay to race the car. They're paying for their seat. So they're coming to the team with money, whether it's their own money or sponsors, to actually get a chance to race. Being everything that's going on from their perspective, from the driver perspective, it might not even make sense to do it, because if you're a businessman, there's a lot of uncertainty out here. You might be strained financially because of everything that's going on. It might not even make sense to race. There's not that many paid seats out there. And also being that everything's going to be compressed, like I said, you can't be in two places at once. And there's going to be a whole lot of action in that short amount of time if we do get back to racing.
Right.
Who wants to elaborate?
That's a good one.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we kind of touched on it briefly. It's just the time constraint. It's the time constraint. It's, the fact that all revenue streams for the most part have been either slowed down or stopped temporarily. I'm curious to see, like you said, I mean, some of these paid seats, they're paid seats because of sponsorships and things along those lines, right? But how do sponsorships get their money to sponsor drivers? By selling product. There's not as much being sold right now. So I definitely it makes a lot more sense now that they would push everything back just to 2021, because from a monetary standpoint, it wouldn't necessarily make sense to, do half a season or even a quarter of a season. It make more sense just to wait it out until the next season and start fresh, as if, this time was a temporary break.
100%. I agree. I think there's too much risk, especially since countries are still trying to figure out how to tackle this crisis. So I think right now what would be the best thing for everybody and for the racing community is just to double down on esports. But I guess we'll have to see which game manufacturers and developers can actually come up to the task. I know they just did an F1 event with a lot of F1 drivers today on a Codemasters F1 game, but I know they got a lot of iRacing stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So hopefully they can pull through on that side, because I mean the revenue stream isn't going to be the same from esports as it will be in motorsports, but I mean it's better than nothing, I guess, at this point. So
yeah,
hopefully it makes a jump.
Good for the fans too. Gives us something to look at.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably generate income through it if you charge to watch or tune in, that type of thing. A paid live stream.
Yeah, well, they would get something from that if they decided to do that, or just from like the typical ad stuff that you see, like even on YouTube and things like that.
Yeah.
You just have a Red Bull can like right there, just
like, yo, I'm looking for the sponsor. What's good?
Yeah. There's a Coke can in here. Let's take that down. They're not paying me.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we'll kind of leave racing and come back to more. Oh, do we lose Chris?
Yeah, I guess it might be good.
Well, once he comes back, I'll accept him again. We'll go into the streetcar market a little bit more. There he is right there. Hold on, folks. Wait for him to come back. All right. Yeah, we don't know what happened to you.
Little bit of technical difficulties. Apologize for that, guys.
Sorry. So I was saying we're going to jump from the racing stuff back into street cars for a little bit, just to kind of talk about how the virus is going to affect everything. I know for me, even though I'm not necessarily in the market today, I do want to get a Supra once all this is done. Now, originally, I was thinking, okay, well, people are going to buy the car in a few years, it'll depreciate, it won't be as expensive, and assuming the car hasn't fallen apart, it'll be worth just waiting because, all
that's if they go down in price, by the way. Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, it is if they go down in price, I mean, we can't really tell because the car just came out.
Yeah.
But even if you wait and it doesn't go down in price, you still would have saved some personal change to put a better down payment down or whatever, you know. But now I'm like, man, people might not even be buying the cars because they ain't got no money to buy the cars. Now I might have to actually go get a brand new one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Obviously, you know, that market is going to be affected, you know, significantly. Starting off with just interest rates, you're going to have manufacturers discounting the car more than they would normally would. You're going to have interest rates at, you know, all-time lows, which they already are at as far as mortgages go. I'm sure you can shed some light on that, Steve. You know, and it's going to affect the car market as well. You're going to see 0% for ridiculous terms like 84 months. And you might even see them come out with something longer than that, believe it or not. Which is kind of crazy that you can finance a car for 7 years. And there's balloon payments too, where you can have basically a mortgage on your car if that's how you want to roll with it. But yeah, it's definitely going to be impacted. We're going to see a dip in sales. We have seen a aggressive drop, but that incline is going to take a little bit to kind of build steam. Like you said, people aren't making money right now. Some people are unemployed. Some people are getting compensated slightly less because they're not in their office or what have you. And then, as I mentioned, you have some people who aren't earning anywhere near what they used to. So for them to be able to recover from that and catch up on their bills and get back to a normal routine, so to speak, that in itself is going to take a few months before we'll actually see people come out of their shell, so to speak, and go out and make those kind of purchases for a Supra and things like that. And then you're also going to have the people who just have their regular daily drivers who are in leases, who are, technically have leases that expired throughout this time period. And luckily the manufacturers have extended their leases or given them a break when it comes to that. Those people are still going to need vehicles. So, they'll be coming in to handle that. But the people who buy or who are looking to buy a vehicle for more, on the pleasure side, you're definitely going to see a lot of people being deterred from doing that immediately. It's going to be more of a need in the immediate than a want until things pick back up to where they were before.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. I think that pretty much we'll see a definite decline in luxury goods, especially luxury vehicles. So I expect an increase if anyone's transferring leases or their leases have expired to go to places like Honda, Nissan, Toyota for their leases because they're a lot cheaper, much more affordable, especially when times are uncertain and income stream or revenue stream might be limited. I think that in terms of buying cars for pleasure, again, like you said, yeah, that's probably going to be on halt for most people, if not very much, slowed down or retarded, not in a bad way, obviously.
Of course.
And I just, it's not looking all that great for that market anytime soon. I mean, I'm hoping that, the turnaround on this will be, right back to, getting people back into their jobs and everybody's going to be out and trying to, spend their money once they get their jobs and stuff back. I don't see, like, just because, there's like a very low income rate right now because a lot of people are, at all-time highs of unemployment. I'm hoping that because this wasn't, caused by a financial factor like the 2008 crisis, that people can get their jobs back a lot easier. While that might be, naive to say, I just think that, hopefully that's the case, in which case we can get back to absolute normal a lot quicker. But in terms of the car market, I don't know. I'm even in the market for a car. I've sold my Honda. For those of you who have watched No Lift Garage, the Honda Civic is gone at this time. I am looking at a new project car. I told everyone else here what it is, except Sebastian. I'll tell you later. And we'll hope to be getting that, sometime later this year, if not early next year. But it's gonna take time, just like everything else.
Yeah, it's a weird environment for buying, like you said before, Gartrell luxury goods, and it's I think I've seen it before on a commercial. I forgot exactly which car company it was from, but they were saying something like along the lines of what you were saying, Chris, where it was like 80 plus months on a contract to buy this car, and they were waiving like the first 6 months for payment. So like
Yeah.
they're essentially giving you like a free car for 6 months. They're so desperate that nobody's gonna be buying their lot. So it's going to be one of those really awkward times for a good minute, definitely for the rest of this year in terms of cars. And honestly, I'm really curious to see what deals come out. I might even just buy a car, and I have no business buying a car right now.
Yeah, hopefully they are as good as what everybody, is hoping that they are. But you know what the crazy part is, just to shed some light and a little education on the car market real quick. So those 6 months that they say that they're giving you for free, tread lightly, because 9 times out of 10, what ends up happening is they just tack it on to the end of the loan.
Yeah, they're amateurized.
Exactly.
They always get their money.
But yeah, 84 months at 0%, that's, pretty crazy. Obviously, you have to have strong credit to qualify for something like that. That goes without saying. Right. But to even be offering something on that level, that's, you're basically just paying for the car. It's free money at that point,
With these gas prices, I'm inclined. It's almost better than before I was in high school when gas started to blow up to like $3 a gallon.
Now, that's a good point that you just brought up. I saw premium gas for about $2.50.
Yeah. Some places have like 2 flat.
Yeah.
Some places have 2 flat for 93. So it's pretty crazy. Oil's done right now.
Yep. All right. So next one, assuming you can get a good deal on a car post coronavirus crisis, what are you picking up? I said a Supra. Chris, what are you getting? Which one of the 50 cars you consider?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I'm bad at this. If I could, I'm going to work my way up to be like Jay Leno and have a collection like him. But to answer the question, if I was to get something after this and get a great deal on it, it'd probably either be the A90 Supra or an M2 Competition, one of the two. As far as color goes, I'm going in yellow for the Supra, and for the M2, I'd probably say that Long Beach Blue Metallic.
Gartrell?
Well, I have no clue.
Without giving away what you want to get later in the year, next month, pick something else.
If it's gonna be a new car, shit, I have no idea, man.
It's tough, huh?
I don't know. Like maybe like a used GTR or something. I don't know. Maybe. Like if we're talking like 40, 50 grand prices, I see why not, get a little project / fun car, maybe put an exhaust on it and some stuff like that. Yeah. We'll see. I don't know. I really wasn't thinking about that. I was more in the used car market, for like cheaper stuff. But I don't know. Brand new, maybe a Supra. I can see it happening.
So you're gonna be the Toyota team suddenly?
Yeah. I'm gonna be the Yoda squad.
Yes. So.
Yeah, man.
We be gazooming to New York.
Yeah, man. It's been a minute since I've driven, and I've been dying to at least just drive a stick. It's been like almost a year since I've sold my car off, but I don't know. I'm thinking of an M series for sure. Probably an M3. I've always had a love affair with those cars. Definitely something fun with enough power behind it for me to, and living in New York, to make sure that it can hang throughout all the elements. Because I don't have a garage, I don't have that pleasure, but I'd at least like to have fun on the weekend. Something that we see our boy Matt doing with his Porsche. So something along those lines.
Honestly, if you were gonna get an M3, and you wanted the coupe, the E92,
Yeah.
it'd probably be a good time for you to buy one. Honestly, they were like pretty like decently priced at the time. So like you can probably snag one for like a low like high 20s, low 30s in good condition and medium mileage, and like you could definitely do some damage with that thing. You know what I mean? So
Oh, for sure.
no,
Yeah.
It's on the mind. I just gotta chill out for a little bit.
Well, touching on Sebastian's point real quick, that new M3 is going to be all-wheel drive. So, yeah, we already know that they're going to come out with multiple editions of it. They haven't specified specific, or they haven't specified which, trim levels they are going to have available. We have rumors that they're going to have, a rear-wheel drive and manual version. The all-wheel drive version is pretty much, guaranteed at this point. It's going to have something similar to what the M5 competition has, where you can disengage the front axle and just shred tires for days. So yeah, to touch on something real quick relating to this topic, there really hasn't been that many new cars that have come out that are in the, let's say, 35 to 60, we'll call it 60, maybe $70,000 range, that are, enthusiast oriented cars that perform well. If you think about it, there haven't been that many cars that have recently came out that fit within that category.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's weird because you either get the people that go for like sort of the economy car, but you can build the economy car, or if you got the cash, just go ahead and get yourself a Porsche or a Ferrari or something that you can actually splash cash for. That middle ground is kind of fairy dust.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, before Zoom kicks us out, I guess we'll conclude this. Make sure to stay tuned for more episodes with the four of us via Zoom. We'll probably just try to do them more frequently since everybody's just in the house. Make sure to follow us on Pitbox Pod on Instagram. Also, No Lift Garage. And then, well, Sebastian doesn't have a second thing, but
Just follow Sebastian.
Yeah, just follow. As usual, everybody's Instagrams will be below. Thank you for listening. This is episode 8. Everybody stay safe out there, and we look forward to speaking to you guys soon. Have a good night.